Jin bhai,
Yes.
how do you remember all these things, shlokas, pujas? आपको तो सब कंठस्थ है इतने अच्छे से
नहीं
क्या इनका
कंठस्थ
राज?
कंठस्थ कहाँ पे है? थोड़ा बहुत पता है, इतना नहीं है।
जब भी चाहे आप जहाँ से जो मर्जी बोल देते हैं श्लोकास, तो
अरे नहीं नहीं, ऐसा
क्या
कुछ
राज?
ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। थोड़ा बहुत पता है, अब जब जो याद आ जाता है तो बता देते हैं, बट ऐसा कुछ नहीं। आप भी स्वामी जी के साथ जुड़े रहिए और करते रहिए, देखना आफ्टर 3 years यू विल बी टेकिंग सेशंस हियर एज वेल, ट्रस्ट मी। You've already become a co-host, so it will not take long for you to become a host, trust me.
All thanks to you, अमिताभ जी, your trust in me, कि मुझे समझा इस लायक I
Oh,
can.
no, no. Uh, it's all Hari Guru's grace.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good evening. If you want to, we have a few minutes. If you want to put on your camera, or otherwise, if you have any questions or want to introduce yourself, you're welcome to do so. Sandhya ji, Purva ji, Arti ji, quite a few names I can see. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Radha Sam ji, good to see you.
जिन भाई, भाव आना स्वाभाविक है या इसको लाना पड़ता है?
शुरू में you may have to, because लाना नहीं पड़ेगा, आपको automatically आएगा. Those are the things that happens. It's like when your soul comes in contact with the bliss of God, right? Even if it is a little bit of it, you cannot miss it. That is how powerful it is. But हाँ, effort डालना पड़ेगा. Effort we'll have to put, and then there will be a day that will come. You will start feeling something special has started happening. Okay, I don't know what. So people who sit in samadhi and all, the kind of intoxication or bliss they are feeling, we can't even imagine. Okay, we're talking about God here. So even if we experience a trace of it, just a little bit trace of it, that itself can be very powerful. And then we will talk about Ashtra Satvik Bhav. What are the 8 symptoms that happen? And sometimes even saints are not able to control those. So maybe in one of the sessions, we will bring in some of the symptoms that manifest in your body, right? Your hair will stand on your body can become white. Okay, we'll talk about those in details. And part of this you can start experiencing even when you are doing kirtans. People who actually get into that, you can see people actually crying without reason, and those tears there are quality of tears also. Okay, there are tears that come because of sadness, there are tears that come because of happiness, and even the temperature of tears varies based on the kind of emotion it is backed with. So
I
there
understand.
is a science behind everything. So yeah, but these things are pretty normal in devotional path. In fact, every tear that you shed actually has a cleansing effect on your antakaran. It's directly proportional to that. But those tears don't come so easily. You need purity, but those, when they come, they actually cleanse you. Okay, so we'll get into the depths of bhakti. Yesterday I thought it was a little deep. We went. I tried to make it high level, but there are topics, especially when we get into devotion and all, they will get deep. I mean, there's no other way around it. Anyways, I know we are a little couple of minutes over now, so good morning, good evening, everyone. Let's get started with our opening prayers. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your day, and I'm very excited for today's session. We are going to introduce another bhav and going to discuss a few other important things as well. So let's get started with our opening prayers. Today we will discuss a topic towards the end, around anartha nivritti. I think that was one of the questions that came up yesterday in feedback tracker as well. And a lot of people were saying things, okay, by the way, previously they used to feel this, now they feel it. Is it a good thing, bad thing? So let's have a discussion on that later today. But today we will discuss the next level of bhav, which is Dasya bhav today, and a little bit of other discussion as well. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started then. All right. Audio, video, everything is fine. I just need a thumbs up from you, Shyamji.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Okay, we'll get started with our opening prayers then. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. All right, good morning, good evening, Radhe Radhe everyone. Let's get started. So we are on this shloka. Let's do this yet again. I'm going to recite it and then you're welcome to follow. And then we'll get into the next topic on Dasya Bhav today. Sa evayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam. Yes.
We have some hands raised. Ashutosh, please go ahead. Ashutosh.
Yes, Ashutosh, please go ahead.
Okay.
Are you not able to?
Ashutosh.
No, it is okay. Now it is okay. Radhe Radhe. Sa eva yam maya tedya yogah proktah puratanaha bhaktosi me shakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam.
Very nice.
Radhe
Thank
Radhe.
you. Radhe Radhe. Let's quickly take other participants as well.
Sumesh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe, everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Sa evayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktoshi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam. Radhe Radhe.
Well, very nice. Radhe Radhe. Yes, Shyamji.
Lakshmi ji.
Lakshmi.
Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Sa eva. Pardon?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Sa evayam maya tedya yogaha prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetad uttamam.
Very nice. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Riya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Sa evayam maya tedhya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetad uttamam.
Wonderful.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
We have 4 more. We'll take all the 4.
Sure, we can quickly do that.
Shruti ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Shyamji, Radhe Radhe Nitin.
Radhe
Sa evayam maya tedya yogaha prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam.
Wonderful.
Radhe Radhe.
Very nice. Radhe Radhe.
Sam ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Sam ji.
Sa evayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti Rahasyam hetat uttamam. Radhe Radhe.
Wonderful, Shyamji. Very nice. Radhe Radhe. Okay, we'll
Rahul ji,
quickly take 2 more and we'll get started then.
Rahul ji, राधे राधे.
राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe, Rahul
स
ji.
एवायं मया तेद्य योगः प्रोक्तः पुरातनः भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति रहस्यं हि तदुत्तमम्.
Wonderful, Rahul ji. Very nice. Radhe Radhe.
संध्या जी, राधे राधे.
राधे राधे.
Radhe
स
Radhe.
एवायं मया तेद्य योगः प्रोक्तः पुरातनः भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति रहस्यं ह्येतद् उत्तमम्.
Wonderful. We have one more hand and we'll pick that, and that's the last one.
प्रागी जी, राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे. स एवायं मया तेद्य योगः प्रोक्तः पुरातनः भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति रहस्यं ह्येतद् उत्तमम्.
Wonderful. Very nice, Ragiji. So let's get started. So the same ancient knowledge of yoga, which is the supreme secret, as we saw that in the previous shloka, we discussed that. Lord Krishna is saying that, telling Arjun that today I'm revealing unto you because you are my friend as well as my devotee who can understand this transcendental wisdom. So one of the relations or the bhavs that Lord Krishna is introducing here today is that of a friend. And we took upon this opportunity to discuss the remaining bhavs as well and get into some of the deeper concepts of bhakti as well. So today we will continue with our discussion where we left off yesterday. So let's get started. So what is the next bhav that comes closer, gives us closer proximity to God than the Shant bhav, which is that next bhav, and that is what we are going to discuss today. So if you look at it from X and Y axis, there is an intimacy and bhav coordinates on 2 sides. And the first bhav was Shant, the next bhav is Dasya. So as you can look at in the coordinates, the bhav, the magnitude of bhav has increased and the magnitude of intimacy has increased as well. Both have increased. That is the next stepping stone, basically. So it's like, again, to revisit, when we talk about these bhavs that we are talking about, they are not ordinary bhavs. We are talking about the bhavs, it's post-God realization. It's like bitter butter, better butter, different categories of blisses that are possible. So they're not ordinary bhavs that we're talking about. As we saw, the Shanta bhav is nothing but prema bhakti, and prema bhakti is one of the bhav bhaktis. And bhav bhakti, we saw all the levels of bhav bhaktis, and even the sadhan bhakti, the peak or the goal of sadhan bhakti is bhav bhakti. So this is a very advanced stage where you have already done your God realization, and these are the different moods in which, or emotions in which, you can actually build that relationship, and then forever you can enjoy that emotion, that perpetual bliss. No longer obligated to come back to this material world. Only way you will come back is either if you take upon the role of a profitable servant of God. Maybe you'll come back as a saint. You want to do that, or you can participate in his pastimes, in his leelas. You can lift Govardhan with him and do all the fun stuff, maybe steal butter and whatever. But you are not obligated to come back. Okay, now you are in perpetual bliss. That lottery is there. What do you call that? Like they say, you have become mala mal now. Okay, no more begging anymore. So Shant Bhav is what we had discussed yesterday. Today we will discuss the Dasya Bhav. It goes deeper, both in terms of the Bhav as well as in terms of intimacy or the proximity to God. So the way we have designed it for this week is Friday we are not going to have a session. So today we'll do Dasya. Then the next one is Sakha Bhav, which is what Lord Krishna is telling Arjun, that you are my friend. Then we will bring Vatsalya Bhav on Thursday. And then on Valentine's Day, we'll bring Madhurya Bhav. Okay, we'll put love in perspective. All the love that has really messed up our heads, right from the time when we were growing up till probably at this point, we'll put that in perspective. We'll discuss the Madhurya Bhav as our scriptures tell us what is that true love and that we always talk about and think about. So let's get further. So as you can see, it is increasing. Intimacy is actually, if you look at it, the intimacy is directly proportional to, if we were to put it in an equation, it's directly proportional to the proximity. And as you can see, the proximity is decreasing from God. The distance was this much between a king and the subject. And in Dasya Bhav, as a servant, now you can enter somebody's room, right, to do their job. So that distance has actually shrunk now. And in fact, this is where the Brajra starts as well, where you get a personal seva or personal connect with God. Now we are talking, okay? That's what Rasik saints will say. So they say Shant Bhav is fine, but we want his personal connection. We need personal attention from God. So Dasya Bhav is where it starts. And then it will start going deeper and deeper and deeper until it culminates in Madhurya Bhav. And within Madhurya Bhav also there are levels. So in God realms, there is no limit. Okay, that limit, it just keeps on increasing. If you add anything to infinity, it's still infinity. You subtract infinity from infinity, it's still infinity. And that is what we are dealing with right now. Shant Bhav is not an ordinary Bhav. It is much higher than the bliss of moksha or nirvana that we talk about, or the mukti that we talk about. So let's continue now to go a little deeper into this concept. So we spoke about this. This is God, right? So with regards to proximity, Shant Bhav is where this game starts. Okay, after mukti, let's reject mukti first of all. This is where the Shant Bhav we spoke about. And then after Shant Bhav comes the more closer Bhav, which is what we are going to discuss today, Dasya Bhav. After Dasya Bhav comes Sakha Bhav, which is where Arjuna is situated right now in the battle of Kurukshetra, where Krishna was his friend. And then the next one is the Vatsalya Bhav. We will talk about it. It's very sweet Bhav. Nanda Baba, Yashoda Maiya, all they got that place. And then the topmost Bhav, Madhurya Bhav, which is something we'll discuss next week. And we spoke about the goal of sadhan bhakti is Bhav Bhakti that we saw yesterday. We will not go too deep into that today because Bhav Bhakti is a discussion in itself. So the goal of sadhan bhakti is Bhav Bhakti, and the goal of Bhav Bhakti is Prema Bhakti, as you can see. And Prema Bhakti essentially is one single ray of the sun called, the Bhav Bhakti is one single ray of the sun called Prema Bhakti. Okay, that is the kind of a relationship these bhaktis have with each other. Now let's introduce the Dasya Bhav. As you can see, yesterday you were seeing God as king, your king, from a distance. That he's so grand, so king, and I'm his praja. That was the Shant Bhav. Now, as you can see, the praja has come closer. Praja is holding the feet. That is called Dasya Bhav. Now you can touch God, do his personal service. Right? It is closer. Obviously, you have cut a barrier of that Shant Bhav. There were formalities in Shant Bhav. There were protocols, and there was a distance that had to be maintained. Now that part has been taken care of. Even your personal assistant, they have more rights than an ordinary people who know you, right? So now you can actually get the fortune of actually touching God and doing his personal seva, which is called Dasya Bhav. So let's look at it, what it entails. In Dasya Bhav, not God is the master and Jeev is a loyal servant. Now, the concern of the servant is about just serving the God, and there's always engrossed and eager to serve his master to please him. That is the Bhav always. Like in Radha Govind Geet, Maharaj has explained it very nicely. He says, Dasya Bhav mein sada Govind Radhe Nishtha aur seva dono bata de. Nishtha and seva, these two things. Now, this is Radha Govind Geet. It's a beautiful one. If you have subscribed to JK Radio, you would hear it pretty much every day. It is deep philosophy given in that one Geet, complete Geet. Deep philosophy. In fact, he says in this same philosophy, 4 things. There are only 4 things in our entire scriptures. If you just remember that, there's nothing else there to be known. What are those? He says, Hari Guru, Hari Guru Seva Nit Govind Radhe. And then he further on goes to say Bhav Nishkam Ananya Banade. That's it. These are the 4 Vakya from entire scriptures. There's nothing else remain to be known. And then Bhav Nishkam, it has to be Nishkam. When we get into Madhurya Bhav, we will talk about the Bhav, Nishkamta, Sakamta, all that stuff. Because even in love, there are different moods. There's still, what do you call that, trace of selfishness, it remains. And that distinguishes one gradation of love with another. So anyways, back to Dasya Bhav, the Nishtha and Seva aspect have been introduced. So now if we look at it, Hanumanji here, he's an epitome, zenith, pinnacle, or parikashtha in Hindi, you can call it, of Dasya Bhav. Okay, in fact, it is said that Hanumanji, when Ram Bhagwan came back from 14 years of exile, everybody was fighting for his seva. Who will do what seva? And his charan seva is much sought after. Lakshman and Sita used to have a bit of a thing, okay, I'll do this, until Mr. Kevat came along. If you ever heard that story, we'll maybe pick it up in one of our sessions. He actually got both of his feet, when he had to take him across the boat. So they were laughing, looking at each other. We used to fight for his feet, and this guy in one shot got both of his feet. So anyways, so there was a discussion going on and what kind of a seva. And Hanumanji, which seva he took? He took the seva that whenever Lord Ram is going to yawn, I'm going to do chutki. So it is a most beautiful seva because all the time he has to look at his God's face. And the moment he'll do that, he'll do like this. Okay, so that is the Dasya Bhav. Anyways, so let's get into that. There is no parity here. There's a distance here where between the servant and the master, and servant cannot sit beside the master or embrace him, as you can see even in the material world, right? That is the protocol. And they get more association. Now they are having that darshan, and the personal seva, bliss, that bliss has increased. Now it's not like a subject-object relationship where the God is king and I am just a subject, have to see him from far distance and just render service to him from distance. Now you've got his personal association here. His divine fragrance you can enjoy, the conversation you can have, his divine words, now you can interact with him one-on-one. And the chance to witness his pastimes, because when you have that proximity, you will be witness to his pastimes as well. Now, these are divine things. It may sound boring in material world, but we are talking about divine stuff. In fact, if you have seen Ramayana, there's Kak Bhushundi there. He realized God in the body of being a kak or a kaua or a crow. Now think of it, who would like to be a crow? And he actually asked God asked him for a boon. Okay, what do you need? He could have asked for anything. He said, I don't want to cheat. First of all, make sure I get the same body that I have, because in this body I realized you, God. But give me a boon that I am always a witness to your Bal Leelas. So whenever Ram Avatar happens, whenever the Bal Leela happens, Kak Bhushundi Avatar happens as well. He's blessed with seeing his Bal Leelas. So we are talking in divine realm now, no, not like an ordinary crow and things like, we can't even imagine the kind of bliss they are getting. Okay, that is what our scriptures, Bhagavatam, talk about. So anyways, now in Dasya Bhav, you can see his divine Leelas. And to top it all, the mind is always engrossed in the servitude of God, and wholeheartedly, you just want to serve him. Seva and loyalty are the main virtues in Dasya Bhav, as you can see with Hanumanji. Ram Bhagwan's, he was a perfect master-servant relationship. Now, it's not like a master-servant where master is, it's a very, very spiritual kind of a deal. In fact, when the love reaches a particular point, master-servant forget who is master, who is servant. Those kind of things can happen as well. But let's continue on this. But the Dasya Bhav, one of the things is, like in case of Lakshman, as you can see, he was also discharging his duty as a servant to Lord Ram throughout those 14 years. He did not sleep. In fact, his wife Urmila, she was one of the unsung heroes of Ramayana. She also did not sleep. When he came back, her feet were swollen. She did not sleep because if my husband is not going to sleep, I'm also not going to sleep. That's what she did. So he did not sleep for 14 years. But Dasya Bhav, to nibhana or to discharge that duty is very difficult. Why? Because Lakshman, when he would walk besides Ram and Sita, he would make sure that he's not putting his foot wherever the imprints of Lord Ram or Mother Sita were. He would avoid that also. Obviously, he didn't sleep. That is another part. So Dasya Bhav actually comes with a lot of hardships in when they do the Leelas, but bliss is still there. Okay, when you have realized God, it is not like, okay, I'm a servant, you are a master, when will I become a master? No, nothing like that. That is the bhav where once you have perfected it, you can't even imagine the kind of bliss you are getting in personal seva of God. That's what it says. Now let's look at the sentiment. Okay, in this, the servant says our body is made up of panchabhut, right? Those 5 elements. So the bhav is that when I depart from this world, right, each element is returned back to its origin. So our body is like when a person is burnt or even disposed, or whichever tradition it is followed, each element is returned to its particular constituent where it came from. So in Dasya Bhav, this is what Das actually wishes. He says that I want to wish you till eternity. When I die, the water element of my body, it should mingle with the water of the pond in which you take bath. The Tej element, the fire element, it should merge into that mirror in which you see your face. The space element merges into the ambience of that space where you play joyfully. Air merges into the air of fan which gopis used to serve you, which is used to serve you. And the element of earth should merge into the earth of your way where you'd normally walk. That is the sentiment in the Dasya Bhav. It sounds a little melodramatic, but this is how the Bhav in the Dasya Bhav is of these people who reach that perfection. Hopefully it gives you just a bit of an idea what it takes actually to reach that perfection. So that is Dasya Bhav. Continuing on. Now in this Bhav, you can go up to Rag Bhakti. Yesterday we spoke about Prem Bhakti. Bhakti also has levels. Now in this you go up to Rad Bhakti. And like Maharaj Ji says that Dasya Bhav walon ko Govind Radhe Bhakti Rag Bhakti tak hi pahuncha de. In Radha Govind Geet, he has beautifully mentioned that the peak of Dasya Bhav, the bliss, the peak of that bliss or bliss where it is capped is Rag Bhakti. And where does Rag Bhakti fall? Let's look at it. Yesterday we looked at it, the levels of divine love. We started with Prema Bhakti, the king subject. And today we are going to look at it. So beyond Prema Bhakti, Sneha Bhakti, then Mana Bhakti. Sneha Bhakti, we'll get into those deeper, but just to give you a gist, they keep on getting more. So it's like, first of all, you have a journal science, then you have physics, chemistry, math. So it similarly, even the bhakti, it keeps on getting subtler. Like in Sneha Bhakti, it is said it has 2 parts to it. One is Dhrit, which is ghee, like ghee. Other is Madhu Sneh and Dhrit Sneh. In Dhrit, what happens is, it's like when you heat up the ghee or the clarified butter, it melts. Similarly, the heart of the devotee, it melts. But when it's devoid of God, he doesn't have his proximity, it again becomes solid. And it has to be mixed with sugar to become sugar, right? Only when Ram will give some loving pastime to Hanuman, then he'll become like that. Otherwise, he'll be in his mode. But in Madhusne, you'll always have that sweetness. And in Man Bhakti, it goes to the level where you start doing that fake resentment also. Man means, sometimes to double the bliss, you become upset with your beloved. Right? You show a tantrum, okay, I'm upset with you. So the other person will come and say, what happened to you? Why don't you do this? And then you feel good about it. So those Man Leela start coming in Man Bhakti. Anyway, we're not getting too deep into it, but we'll, anyway, just to give you some semblance of what it means. And then obviously Pranay Bhakti is more sophisticated kind of Man, where in one you think I alone is his, and then the other one you think he alone is mine, kind of a deal. Okay, so we'll get into those details later, not today. And then the Rag Bhakti, Anurag Bhakti, Bhavavesh Bhakti, and then Mahabhav Bhakti. But in Dasya Bhakti, the master servant, you can get up to Rag Bhakti, not beyond that. Okay, that is the key concept to be understood. In the previous one, Prema Bhakti, in this you get up to the Raga Bhakti. And each one of these bhaktis we'll discuss in detail in one of our other sessions. So now we have closed the gap between God and ourselves. The Brajras has started. Right now, it's no longer a distant association where we just look at it from a distance and say, wow, like we look at celebrities. We're not allowed to go close to them. We're not allowed to touch them. We are not allowed to, have a one-on-one with them. But now, Dasya Bhav, you get all those privileges. You can go and serve them and talk to him and enjoy his pastimes and all that stuff. And it will keep on getting deeper as we get more closer in other bhavs as well. So today we came up to the Raga Bhakti in your Dasya Bhav. And okay, before I get into that, any questions so far before I can get into that? I thought I'll bring in, today I got a forward, my father sent me a forward on Lata Mangeshkar, and I just read that quick note and I said, wow, what she's saying, she was a legend actually. It's like once in a generation kind of a legend. And when I read that brief snippet that I think she had given that interview long back, I could just map a lot of things that we study here, and which actually she was able to imbibe in her life. So before I get into that, any question on Dasya Bhav that we spoke about until now, before I get into that? So we looked at the Dasya Bhav. It is kathor, basically difficult to discharge. Like in case of Lakshman, he would not even step over the footprints of Ram and Sita. And Hanumanji, we looked at that example as well. And then if we look at it purely from a proximity standpoint, it's more closer than the Shant Bhav that we had. And furthermore, we are building on this graph as we get more close, and intimacy is directly proportional to the proximity you have to God. And with that regards, it is actually more closer to God. Yes, I can take maybe a couple of questions and then we will get into the next part of it.
Nitin ji, Rupa ji has hand raised. Can you ask her?
Yes, Rupa ji, please go ahead.
Rupa ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Actually, out of which you said, I have a small doubt. When you said about the Lakshman's wife, that she did not sleep even for 14 years, but as per the stories we heard or the books we read and all, Urmila also took a vote, or it is something like I've seen in many stories, like Lakshman's sleep was transferred to Urmila for 14 years and she slept for 14 years. So am I wrong? I don't know, because since my childhood, whatever I heard, Urmila slept for 14 years. I know that story. So I don't know. Just make me
Ramayana that I
clear.
have Tulsidas Ramayana, it says Urmila did not sleep. In fact, her feet were swollen. When Lakshman came back and saw her, her feet were swollen because she said Lakshman used to give pehra, right? He used to keep guard when Ram and Sita would sleep. So she said, if my husband is going to stand, she did not even lie down. She did not even rest for 14 years. She's one of the, unsung heroes of Ramayana. That is how her devotion to Lakshman was. She did not even ask him a question when he was about to leave along with Ram and Sita. And she was actually doing a painting when Lakshman came and he said, I think he said a word that something bigad gaya, ya kuch bikhar gaya, something like that he said. And then that ink spilled. She was painting and she said, yeah, bikhar gaya. That's all. She did not even ask him a word. And the moment he said, I'm going, nothing, no questions asked, nothing. She took a vow and she continued doing that. She did not sleep. She did not even rest for 14 years. All right. Any other questions?
Sunil ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yes,
Radhe
Sunil.
Radhe Nitin ji. Nitin ji, you said that all of these stages, which is Dasya Bhav and the bhavs which come, these are after you attain kind of God and kind of you deny mukti. You say, I don't want mukti, but I want to have association with God.
Yep.
A bhav, I also kind of equated with the feelings that we have, the feelings. So all of these things actually happen in the mind of the materialistic person. So all of this is being played in the mind of that person. Is that correct understanding?
True. So it's called a sublimation. Basically, when you attain God, you first do sadhan bhakti, where you form those kind of sentiments for God. And then it gets complemented with it becomes Siddha Bhakti by grace of God. Siddha Bhakti is not the fruit of your sadhan bhakti. It's not like if you do so much of sadhan bhakti, you will get the fruit. It is actually given as a gift by God. When he has to gift, only he knows. He holds that trump card always, okay? Because he knows when you are ready. He's seated within. He knows us more intimately than even we know ourselves. So when he gives that bhav becomes paripakwa. It fructifies actually. And then your devotion you would have carried in that particular sentiment only. That's why I say when we start doing our sadhan bhakti, we might dabble with different bhavs to begin with. We may be feeling one bhav one day and another day and another day when we do our sadhana, but eventually you will settle down for a bhav, and when it fructifies, you continue doing your sadhana. That is how you end up realizing God. A lot of people, if you tell them no, Madhure bhav is right, they'll say no, I can only think of God as a king, or I can only think of God as my child, or I can only think of God as my beloved. So you will settle down for a bhav based on your sanskars, on based on what comes naturally to you, and based on the knowledge that is activated. And then in that bhav, God meets you in the same bhav there as well. He'll meet you in the emotion, in the sentiment that you have worshipped him. And if a jnani is saying God does not have power, he's just a light, his hands are closed, he said, I'll meet you as a light. What's the big deal? Right? So that is how it goes. So if you say God doesn't have power to grace, you are nirgun, nirakar, nirvishesh, just a light and nothing else, God says that's perfectly fine. I'll meet you as a light only. I cannot grace you. I cannot give you the bliss of my pastime. I will not give you personal association, because that's not something that appeals to your intellect. So I'll meet you the way you want me. If you want to worship God as an old man, he'll meet you as an old man. But these are the bhavs. Yeah. Typically, one of these bhavs will come natural to you. Hope I answered your question. No worries. All right. So now let's quickly go to next part. We have a bit of a discussion today based on the question that was raised by a lot of people. It's a very important topic. That's where we want to have a bit of a discussion. But before that, I wanted to pay a little bit of homage to Lata Mangeshkar. It's a great loss. And she actually gave an interview in Bombay Times in 2000. And, the subject itself was very catchy when I saw that. She said, nothing in this world can happen without God's mercy. That's my firm belief. That's what she said. And let's look at some of the things which I could really relate to. She said that she would do formal prayers, but she would have informal conversations with God, more about telling than asking anything. And if somebody has hurt her, has been rude to her, wronged her, she would confide in God, or a friend, or her mother. But she would not wish any harm to that person, because that law of karma is what she's talking about. Even if somebody wrongs me, I take it in my stride that I must have wronged that person in my past life. If you remember, we have spoken about this concept. When something bad happens to us, it's like a postman delivering our letter to us. We don't fight with the postman. Why are you delivering bad news to me? So she said she would just take it in her stride. It's a great realization, that she actually spoke about and practiced for her life as well. Then she says that I read the Gita and certain preachings I strongly believe in. One being to do one's duty without caring for the fruits, right? Directly 2.47 that we have done. So she actually tried to imbibe that as well. And in fact, in film industry is also, she said that all the fame, adulation that I got, that was God's wish. I neither expected nor asked for it. And that is a common denominator you would see in all the big people who are highly successful. You might think that they might have gotten to that stature by looking for money, fame, or something like that. But typically it is a byproduct of what they do. And she said, I constantly thank God, I'm not so big, you made me big. And it is a scriptural concept. In fact, Brahm is defined as one who is big and one who can make somebody big. And that is the realization she had, that God was the one who actually made me big. And if he so chooses, he can finish me off in a second. It's a big realization. If we can keep that truth in our head, that's a big deal. Furthermore, she said that one should gracefully accept sorrow as willingly as one accepts happiness. That is what life is all about. And then this is an important, interesting one. She said, God wanted my services for singing. We said about sublimation of desires, where whatever we are good at, we could actually dovetail it in the direction of God. So she actually had that realization, these services for singing, that yet unique gift that she has. And then she further on goes on to say that if I had not given my 100% to the skill, that obviously God had gifted to her, he would have taken this gift away from me. It's a big thing actually to actually think it that way. Now you can actually, two things will happen. One, you will not have a sense of entitlement, you will not develop pride, and secondly, you will put in your 100% in anything and everything that you do. Again, goes back to the concept that we have spoken about and discussed from Bhagavad Gita 2.38. 2.38 actually spoke about the concept of that was a concept of sukha dukhe samay kritva labha labha jaya jayo tato yuddha yujyasva nevam papam apapyasi. So that is a concept that she's talking about here, that sukh dukh, you have to, it's temporary. You should just have an equanimity towards both the attitudes. And then furthermore, she goes on to say, I'm content in my life, and anyone who truly believes in God is bound to be. So if you have restlessness, if you have anxiety, if you're not content, that means we don't really have that faith at that point. Santushti is one of the great virtues God advocates. In Navada Bhakti also, when Lord Ram gives his discourse to Shabri, one of the things that he calls out very clearly, santosh, having santosh or contentment in life, rather than thinking about other people and thinking, they have better than us and all that stuff. Nothing. In fact, our scriptures tell us three things you should always have santosh with. One is the food that you eat. Second is the wealth that you end up acquiring in life or you have. Third is the spouse that you are stuck with. Okay, just be content with these three things in life. So anyways, and then she winds up by saying one cannot escape destiny, the concept of prarabdha that we have spoken about. And she quoted an example of Lord Ram, that when he descended, he did good deeds. Even though he was a king's son, he had to endure that exile of 14 years. But he continued to do good deeds. He killed Ravan, and then again the good times came back, and he succeeded in creating Ram Rajya. So basically, if you look at the shloka 2.14 that we had spoken about, this all is temporary. And then Shitoshna Sukha Dukkhada. It tells that Matra Sparshastu Kante Shitoshna Sukha Dukkhada, that this comes like a winter and summer season, this Sukh and Dukh in our life. So we should not really pay a lot of attention to that, basking in the glory of happiness, getting so damp when we are broken, kind of a deal. So I found it interesting, and I could just find some of the things that we have been talking about in Bhagavad Gita. She's actually had those realizations, and probably she implemented those things in life as well. And as you can see, how successful she was. Right, the voice that she carried even towards the twilight of her age, it was phenomenal. So that was a very legendary loss, and I thought this is something that we can take inspiration from her life as well, especially around some of the concepts that she's talking about, and directly coming from Bhagavad Gita, what we are discussing and we read as well. All right, so Shyamji, you can put the feedback tracker, but then today's discussion topic is very important. This question came up in our feedback tracker yesterday, this concept that we were talking about yesterday, that we spoke about the stages of preparation of sadhan bhakti. It starts with Shraddha, goes to Sadhu Sang, Bhajan Kriya, Anarth Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, and Bhav. Right? It's like get, set, go. And after Bhav, we know there are 9 more steps to it. But then one question that came up was, what is Anarth Nivritti? This particular thing came up. So let's have a discussion. I want to hear from participants what they think is Anarth Nivritti, and if you can share some examples of it. A lot of people like Shyamji was talking about yesterday, that you have started liking something, right? What is that you have started liking? Shyamji, you can talk about that. And then I think Kirtan, Bhajan, or something related to God's topic, right? You're talking about?
Yes, Bhai. Of lately, I can listen to Krishna Bhajans day in, day out.
Yeah,
initially, about 6 years, I was one minute I was overwrought. I can't do it. But of lately, it happened so that for last 1 week, I listened to it entire day. I just can't tell you how I feel, how blissful I feel. At times I get goosebumps. At times I do not know where, but I don't get bored nowadays. And you know how YouTube is. It is so smart that it shows you similar things. It won't deviate you also. That's the way it is. So God is there with me. He is pushing me, pulling me the same direction. Even Google, YouTube says, don't deviate. I am with you.
Wonderful.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, let's hear from other participants as well. And I think
we have Sunil ji's hand raised.
Sure, let's hear from everyone. And then I think Lakshmi ji, you posted a question. You started having ruchi in bhajans as well. So I more specifically want to tackle this thing. Anarth nivritti. It's actually a sandhi word. Anarth means something which is not good for you. Nivritti means getting rid of. So based on your experience, especially when you started experimenting with spirituality or started making it a priority, any examples of things which anarth nivritti you can call out, or what does it mean for you? Let's have a quick, let's hear from few participants and continue with this discussion. Yes, Sunil, please go ahead.
This is an anomaly to what I actually asked you earlier, and it is bugging in my mind. I'm sorry, still at the materialistic level and not reach that level. But mind is such a powerful instrument. Whatever we want, we can project. It will project for us. Okay, so I'm just trying to say, how is all of these things, once you go through them, say if you don't know them and it happens with you, then it's fine. But once you know that these are the levels and this is how it happens, how does one actually differentiate between hallucinations and actually if this thing is happening? Because it's quite possible that you would start hallucinating. The idea is not to get everyone off track, but that doubt of the intellect is what I just wanted to get some insight from you.
See, on this marg, they say in bhakti marg, you become what is that called in scriptures? Markat Kishore Nyay. You become a billi ka bacha, okay, where you have given control of your life to God. So he'll make sure the purity of intention is important. Now, if you are experimenting with drugs and LSD, then hallucinations can happen. In the path of bhakti, if you are approaching it with sincere heart, God will take care of it. Okay, if he gives you darshan and you freak out, you become mad, not going to happen. He'll give you the power also to digest it. Because see, God's bliss is so powerful that if somebody were to give it to you today without any eligibility, you will disintegrate. Okay, that is how powerful it is. We have a thermostat in our heart on either side. Thermostat is what? It trips when electric circuit, it increases a particular voltage. Similarly, our heart is actually given boundaries on both sides. It cannot take bliss beyond a point and it cannot take pain beyond a point. It will just collapse. And divine love or darshan of God or the kind of bliss, if you are to experience it in your current state without having the required spiritual strength or the vessel for it, you will disintegrate. So be rest assured, if you are approaching it with sincere heart, you will not fall trapped to any of the hallucinations and things like that. God will take care of it. He'll give you the power and make you realize that something special is happening and you're on the right path. It's not going to happen. But the key thing is approaching it with the purity and the sincerity of intentions and doing the practice that our scriptures or your guru is telling you. You will be on the right path. In fact, that shanti, the first part of Bhav Bhakti, that peace, that serenity, that joy, that calmness that we talk about, that itself will tell you that you are right. You're on the right path. You'll get that proof automatically. Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about God, not the chemicals that humans have created, like LSDs and all that stuff. Okay, so you can be rest assured with that regards.
I agree. I agree absolutely. Totally. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Sam ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Sam ji.
Nitin ji, with due respect, for all the slides of today, they're not properly focused, or at the same time, the fonts are not very getting clear. They are kind of getting blurred. I mean, right now is okay. I mean, it's not very good. Okay. I can't, coming back to the issue, but you can look into that one later on also.
Is it the same for everyone, or are you alone experiencing that? I mean,
I don't know about anybody else, but
everybody's experience, the fonts are blurred and they're not coming in clearly. Yes, you can say yes for me. You can raise hand. Okay, not raise hands. Maybe okay, talk it differently. All right. Anyways, Samji, go ahead with your question.
Okay. Anyway, coming back to the issue, anartha nivritti. So anartha nivritti is just like that. In case somebody is doing any kind of damages or something, वो बोलते ना हिंदी में क्या अनर्थ कर रहा है. So in case somebody is cruel to a friend or to some animal or somebody, unnecessarily killing somebody or doing something, so that kind of feeling is nivritti, that you are doing all this bhakti. So the feeling of that kind of thing, unwanted torture you are doing to somebody, so that kind of feeling is kind of nivritti. You're getting free of that one by doing all the sadhana, siddha bhakti, and bhajan kriya.
Right.
So that's what I think meaning of that one.
Very true.
And one other thing besides the topic, with due respect, like in the JKU community portal, January 26th, 3.43. After that, I never saw anything. With due respect, I would like to say, unless I'm not getting it, or anybody else, or you did not, one of your guys.
I'll check it out for you, Samji, but yeah.
After January 26th, 3.43, nothing is showing up.
I can check it out, or I can.
I'll appreciate in case somebody can upload those, so that, because many of us may be dependent upon the slides only. And all these slides are Bhav Bhakti slides. I know you mentioned that you will be doing it at the end of that one. Maybe at that particular point, after 1 week, there will be too many of them. So maybe you can put some parts of that one.
So Samji, I will send you stuff. Part of the content has to be moderated.
Okay, thank you.
I think, yeah, moderated, because I think there are plans to put it on some courses. So
okay.
That is there. But yeah, let's talk about it, and I'll see what I can do.
Anartha nivritti, this is my 2 cents in that context.
Sure.
Radhe,
sure.
Radhe.
Radhe, Radhe. Thank you very much. That was right. I think you hit the bullseye around that. It starts weeding off stuff that we don't need. Let's hear from other participants. Quite a few other hands are raised. Let's hear from them, and then we'll build on that. I'll pose some questions or maybe some scenarios, and then you can tell me what you think about those. Yeah.
Preeti ji, Radhe Radhe. Preeti ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, everyone. Beautiful discussion, Nitinji, and I love the analogy thermostat. Yes, it does happen like that, I would say. For me, I would agree with Samji also. Anartha nivritti, it deters one from, doing anything that may be wrong. So for me, what is anartha nivritti? Well, for me, it is being non-judgmental, accepting the other person as he is. Journaling a lot and getting clarity around things is also anartha nivritti for me, because that helps me know what is right for me, what serves me, and what does not serve. So these are the 2 cents again after Samji. Radhe Radhe. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Preeti ji. Very nice. I like the fact, I think you said that journaling is also anartha nivritti.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, yeah, you are actually relinquishing something that otherwise would have troubled you in your head, right? So that's a very good way of putting it. Beautiful. I love that. Yes, journaling is also anartha nivritti in a lot of ways. Yeah. Yes, Preeti, you wanted to add something? Was there a follow-up from you, Preeti?
Would I go ahead? I mean, I just would need a few seconds if you
Sure. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So every verse in Bhagavad Gita, how important it is, everyone knows here, right? But sometimes the mindset that you are in, when you read that verse, it makes a difference to you. I mean, if you are dejected, verse will mean nivritti, which means distracting yourself from your dejection. If you're very happy, the verse would mean, the same verse would mean different. But then the thing is, the verse serves you. So all the 700 nakeds that Lord Krishna has sent our way, they do a lot of anartha nivritti, whatever emotions you are in. And what are emotions? They keep coming and going. But the truth, the universal truth stays. Thank you, Radhe Radhe. It was a bit irrelevant, but I thought I would say it.
No,
Radhe Radhe.
that is true actually. Each shloka is actually removing some kind of an anartha in our life. That is
Yes.
why Lord Krishna has said that, and he has not wasted words for sure.
Yes.
If we think about each shloka, some kind of anartha will go away if we deeply think about it for sure. Beautiful point. Thank you so much, Preeti ji. Yes.
Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone. Yeah, for me, I think what changes I experience is I used to love to sleep whenever I get time.
Oh, wow.
I used to get refreshing of that energy like that. But nowadays I feel, okay, why sleeping, wasting time? I can read something, I can see a video, something which inspires me or something information regarding spiritual. So I open up JK Yogs, Swamiji's videos and I see. And one more thing is whenever I'm in journey, I used to sleep pakka all the journey time. Once into the journey time, I used to sleep, and once the destiny comes, I used to get up. But now I'm not sleeping at all. I'm using that time for all other stuffs which I can do it.
Wonderful.
So that is one. And another thing is initially, if someone I don't like their behavior is hurting me, or I'm not comfortable with that person, I used to think more and get emotionally disturbed and all. But nowadays I feel okay because of those people. I'm thinking that why should I waste time in thinking that I can divert myself and do something which is benefit to me and for the same person also, which I'm thinking bad of them.
Great.
So these are the changes which I'm getting it. So hope that fits into this topic. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Does very true. In fact, one anartha is the tamas that we have. When we say we don't have time, the time will come when you start investing time in spirituality. The first symptom that will happen is tamas will start getting reduced. It will come from your sleep. Those 10 are even. I had this problem, big problem. Now God has made sure I don't get more than 6 hours sleep and maybe occasional dozing off between my meetings. But other than that, I hardly get time to sleep. Okay, in between meetings, I do sleep from office. But then the brain is so wired that the moment my name is called, I just know what to speak, okay, without nobody coming to know I'm sleeping. So it happens. I know I can make it out. So yes, that is also an anartha where your tamas starts getting. And the second thing is a big realization. Trust me, that is the biggest problem we have: the anxiety, the emotional, turmoil that we go through because we have to deal with so many people and we have so many challenges, right? Managing relationships around us and things may not fall in place. But if you have that realization that you're becoming better on that front, nothing like it, because those are your perpetual assets now, Lakshmi ji, right? Krishna, out of his mercy, he says, whatever spiritual assets you build, I'll preserve it for you. So if you have taken that leap, you can only go northwards from here on, never southwards. So just keep it up and keep building on that. These are like permanent, lifelong, across lifetime assets that you are building. That is how powerful it is. So if you make inner growth as the priority of your life, nothing should matter. No matter what happens in our life, there's always an opportunity to, enhance your inner self, upgrade yourself. And that itself will be so liberating, refreshing, and empowering that nothing would matter at that point. Great realization. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let's hear from other participants.
Padma ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe. So I just wrote a few things. We are self-obsessed with self-love, and we are so obsessed with sharing our love with our immediate, spouse, children, mother, father, brother, and everything. And then we share our love with God. And then we say, you know what, we're going to reserve this love for myself, the whole family, and you become the nucleus, your family becomes the nucleus. And we feel that God is outside the nucleus, out of that atom or the bubble that we create. But when you get into the space of spirituality, however, God actually brings you back to that space that you need to. God is in the center. He is the nucleus. So that orientation of God being somewhere else, the bubble, God actually becomes the center of that bubble, and he's in the center, and everything evolves and falls within that bubble. So that is the bigger thing. If you can perceive that, there's that a change or transformation of configuration that happens. And then the second thing is, when you're sitting in this space of spirituality, it doesn't, it's not that you don't have the same emotions that you experienced before. You will still experience the same emotions, but your attitude and response toward those emotions will change. If you have been cribbing and crying and complaining, all those C's that we do, C, right? It changes the perspective, though the quantity and the quality of how you complain and cry and crib, all that disappears. What you start doing is acknowledge those emotions and understand how to deal with those emotions. That is number two thing. And then the number three biggest thing is, instead of thinking how this happened, you start to think about how to address those situations. That is the number three thing, that orientation happens. And the number four thing is, if you have to give a language to what you're feeling and sensing and experiencing from inside, I think will become I know, and everything will become an experience. Everything will become a sensation. Everything will become a realization that stays with you, and nobody can change that and say, what you're feeling is not this. When you realize and when you experience it, that becomes part of you, that becomes your composition, and that becomes your spiritual asset, that, as you said, that you're ready to take on to the next life. So that becomes part of you. So those are the four things.
Wonderful.
The very last thing that I want to share is, when you're sitting in the space of spirituality, you will find a purpose. God will give you a purpose in whatever the way. A very small thing that you didn't know about yourself, or you knew about yourself, but you didn't know how to put it in perspective. So you start serving that purpose, and the purpose will actually serve you back, where it gives you more spiritual responsibility. And I'm using this word very carefully. The purpose will give you back that spiritual responsibility, where you become more spiritual and you give back more. The more you give back, the more you get back. And that bubble will start expanding. And as the bubble expands, you will see God is giving you more bliss. The more bliss you get, the more spiritual responsibility that you get, and you get more clarity in your mind and soul and heart, and you become that purpose itself. That is what I wanted to share.
Wonderful. I think it comes from the depths of your realization, and I think I was trying to capture as much as I could. One key thing that I understood initially, at least, was you can actually experience it yourself. And I can tell you with my own example, when you have the mic things at the center of the focal point of your life, right? Whether it's your job, your profession, or some relation, or anything related to the world has million ways to make you dance. Okay, you'll never have time for anything, trust me. You'll keep on running around those things, and you'll say, okay, where do I find time for spirituality? Okay, I'm not even old. But when you start making God as the center of your life, or you pick up something spirituality and you make it the thing, the non-negotiable thing, you will be surprised to see everything around you will start aligning. Maya will start cooperating with you. I have realized it personally. I live it every day. Trust me. I don't have a regular job where, I'll go drink tea and come back. I think it's a hard 8 to 10 hour job, and a perfect, it's very demanding job. Okay. But still, somehow when this time comes, I get time, somehow things are getting arranged. Okay, idea would come, somehow I'll get something, and then the presentation is ready, and then I get, somehow magically it's happening, automagically it's happening. And I've realized it even when I would make attending any of the lectures, in-person lectures, when Swamiji comes as my priority, even my travel would get sorted out. Previously I was in consulting where I had to travel pretty much every alternate week. And somehow my travel would get cancelled, or I'm traveling to a city where his discourse is there. I would be surprised how it's happening. So things start getting aligned when you start making God or spirituality your priority, because the Maya being the servant or the energy of God, its primary job is to push you towards God. When you start making God and spirituality your priority, then it starts serving you, supporting you, and everything start aligning. It is one of the things one must experience, and I have experienced it. I live it every day, and I'm sure a lot of you would have experienced it as well. Mic plans you make, a lot of impediments can come, but when you make something related to God as your priority, everything will start falling in place somehow automatically. Beautiful. And as more you give, more you get back. Like you beautifully summed it up, Padmaji, that bubble you keep on increasing, and that's a matter of realization. Like you're giving, but actually you're gaining, and you give in the spirit. It's a privilege, not it's something you have to part with something precious from you, and you automatically get 10 times more in return. That is another spiritual principle that you beautifully summed it up. Beautiful point, Padmaji. Like always, let's hear. I can see quite a few other hands. I think Rahulji is probably for the first time I've seen him, so let's give him a chance, and then we'll pick up others as well.
Rahulji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Rahulji.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji. I think for me, the anartha nivritti is probably all those mundane activities which we used to actually derive some kshanik pleasure.
Yes.
Probably now that interest has reduced. For example, partaking in gossip, talking about others, finding others' faults, not thinking about like how much our antakaran is not shuddha, and then we are talking about others.
Right.
And listening probably to the Bollywood songs whenever you are driving, but now only bhajan, no Bollywood song, nothing. And I have my grandfather who is like 92 years of age, and he was telling me that, I mean, in his younger age, he used to have so many saints come at his home. My nani was having so many bhajans at home, but he told me that never he had experienced that philosophy which Maharaj Ji has told about that man. Bhakti karni hai man se, na ki aapko no kind of like physical drill and all that. And whenever I talk to him every day, we always talk about only one of the new leelas of either Shri Krishna or Maharaj Ji's video or Swami Ji's video.
Wonderful.
And that is what I've been talking to my mother also. So I think it helps very well. And then you're always trying to get more out of that or more ras out of that rather than trying to focus on other things. I know we have to do our duties, whatever we have to. But like Maharaj Ji tells, जीविका चलानी उसके बाद क्या करना है? आत्मा के लिए कुछ आपको काम फोकस करना पड़ेगा.
Paramartha, very true. Beautiful point.
That is what he says in your young age, like you are trying to collect money, better focus on that Paramartha. Ram Naam ki mahima bhi kama lijiye. So yeah, that is what I have to say. Thank you.
Very nice, Rahulji. I think beautiful realization, beautiful. A lot to get inspired from for sure. Yes, those are natural symptoms. See, one of the things that you start getting asakti in bhajans. I used to find bhajans are so boring. Who would listen to that? Now do you start finding Bollywood songs, you start losing interest in them, right? That also starts happening. Then you will start losing interest in gossiping with people around. You will start losing interest in unnecessary socialization. You'll start losing interest in, just killing away your time. So a lot of things, it's not you have to put in an effort, they just go away by themselves. Right? Like the other day I was talking about, you start losing interest in the people, they end up giving up vices that they have been carrying on for so many years. Did they do it through their willpower or why power? No, they just lost interest. One day they just lost interest. That is the power of divine name. So God is that medicine. They say, right, if you are having anxiety or you're troubling with some habit that you want to rid yourself of, take spirituality as the dose. And if it doesn't work, double the dose. Okay, that is the only way. And God, if you start bringing God into the mix, his name, leelas and all that, it is so powerful that your soul will start shedding stuff that it doesn't need, unnecessary that we have piled on, right? Because your soul starts manifesting its true glory because we are removing the layers that, we have brought upon itself because of our multiple lifetimes. Great realization. And we all can actually experience it. And it's like life is like a laboratory for us. We are learning these principles. Somebody asked Swamiji, why did you take sannyas? He gave a very simple answer, because I believed in the knowledge. Right? If we believe in the knowledge, we'll put this to practice. And when we put it to practice, we'll start seeing the results. It's as simple as that. So, but given our capacity, even if we pick up a small nugget, if we start practicing it, the change, the experience would be so powerful that you would know that, this is what I want to do. That is the beauty of this part. Thank you so much, Rahulji. Loved it what you said. 3 more hands. We can really cover them quickly. Shyamji, I know it's daytime for you. So hopefully it's not too late for you.
It's okay. It's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
And
sure.
if you have to drop off, feel free to.
I will.
I can stick around because I know the time is over, but I can stick around for 2 or 3 more.
Yeah. Annapurna ji, Radhe Radhe.
And for rest of you, please fill out the feedback tracker.
Yeah.
If you're not able to fill, keep refreshing it until you submit it. Okay. So yes, let's hear from other participants.
Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Annapurna.
Okay.
We can hear.
I just want to say that, from years I have been used to meditate for 1.5 hours or 1 hour or something. There are days that I have to go somewhere, attend to material things in life. So I feel miserable that I'm missing, but somehow even late, I will come back and make up, then only I feel good because, one day is wasted without concentrating on God or anything. No matter, even if I do puja outside rituals or anything, I have to connect myself with God. So I think that is anartha nivritti, and then thinking about material things, I'm very conscious of it and try to change the, channel right away. Once I know that I'm doing, I think these are all anartha nivritti. What you don't do, think about God. Anything you don't do, it is a sin, according to Maharajji.
Very true. Beautiful.
Thank
Right.
you.
And if Radhe, very, very good realization, Annapurnaji, and thank you for sharing that. I'm sure a lot of it can relate with it. And also one more thing that came to my mind was, if your friend circle starts shrinking, okay, that may not be a bad sign as well. It will automatically start happening. So these are some of the symptoms that happen. You don't have to put in effort, and you just know some invisible hand has started working now, and those things will start happening all by itself. Right? In Yogakshem Vyamyaham, there are 3 things, right? God says that he will first of all preserve what you have that you need, provide what you need but you don't have to progress further, and then destroy what you have but you don't need. So these are all the things like flab we accumulate, right? And then we get on the treadmill to get rid of it. So it's like that only. It's all starts subsiding by itself, because now you have made the ultimate goal of life as your priority, then lower starts falling away all by itself. And it happens, it's something one can experience. And I'm sure a lot of you would already be experiencing it in your lives. All right, a couple of other hands.
Ramaji is saying, Ramya ji, very thankful, bhai, that in spite of a busy schedule, you are taking time for all of us. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
No, I should thank you for spending your 60 minutes with me. For me, actually, this is the best time of my day, ask me or not, okay? And it's hard for me to believe we have already completed 1 year, but this is one time of the day that I really look forward to. And it keeps my mind productively engaged throughout the day, right? You're always thinking, what are you going to present? How are you going to present? What would make sense? So even today's Lata Mangeshkar, I was reading that. It was not a regular forward for me. I was actually mapping it to Gita concepts. So it's actually beneficial for me only. And it is because of Maharajji and Swamiji's grace, and the seva has come. So I think it's mutually rewarding for both of us. So
that's how you are. Whatever comes to you, you map it to Gita. I have seen that in last 1 year. Your life is about Gita, Gita, and Gita. Is that so? I think so.
I wish that is the case. I hope that is the case. But at least now, because of the sessions, your mind starts getting, this is how our minds are, right? What you repeatedly do, your mind starts getting wired that way. And because Swamiji has enabled it, it has become, otherwise given to myself, I would be wasting my time, trust me. But because I shouldn't say I don't have a choice, but because I have a good reason now to invest my time, it is helpful for sure.
Yeah. We have Akshita ji. Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Akshita.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe, everyone. And for me, the journey when I started this Gita practice and all,
So I'm connecting the dots. Whatever happened in my life, I'm just connecting the things. So I'm so attached for everything, the material attachments. Even I used to keep the chocolate wrappers since from my college days, school days and all.
Okay.
So at one point, it was like I wanted to get rid of many things. Something has happened in my life, so I just gave away. I thrown away almost all the chocolate papers, everything, and most of the material things, that vessels and my fridge, washing machine, everything. I gave it to people. So that was the attachment I got it. I don't know, it was and all holding me very tightly. So I wanted to get rid of it. I just give away to many things, to many people. So now I can connect the dot. So yes, now it is not a priority to me. Actually, without the refrigerator, I'm leaving my life also.
Wonderful.
So it is not a necessity for me now. So that's what I feel.
Great. And was it very liberating, therapeutic for you when you actually let go of it?
Yeah, now I can connect to the okay, it is good only. Whatever happened for the good only. That's what I feel.
Wonderful.
And one more thing I just wanted to tell that Sharmila has not slept, Lakshmana's wife, right?
Urmila,
Yeah,
not Sharmila.
sorry, yeah, Urmila. So I heard in some video. So what they explain means when they went to forest, actually she has put to sleep her desires that are whatever the things what she wanted as a normal life. Everything she has put to sleep, and she took over the responsibilities of Lakshmana in that what we call in this place. She has taken the responsibility of Lakshmana for that princess towards their Kaikai, everyone, mother-in-laws, like that and all.
Yeah, they give
So
a
that's
lot
what
of allegorical references to that as well. It's a lot of commentaries are written. So yeah, she put to sleep her desires. So those are right beautiful interpretations and allegorical corollaries that we derive out of it. So yeah, that's really good one. I have a question for you, Akshata ji. Did you love your chocolate wrappers more or the refrigerator more?
No.
Or
Nothing. Okay.
But it's good to know. I know it can be very liberating. It's like somebody has taken the burden away from our head, right? When we it's like confronting your secret stash and ridding yourself of it. Wonderful, great example. Thank you so much for sharing that. Quickly, Golab ji and Aarti Pandey ji, and then I see Seema ji as well. So real quick, if we can.
Golab ji, Radhe Radhe.
A minute each, if we can.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Radhe Radhe, can you hear me?
Yes.
Radhe Radhe.
Yes, we can hear you.
Radhe Radhe. Very wonderful and heart-touching session. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
To all with humble naman, koti and pranam with Hari and Guruji. जो भाव एक चीज है स्पिरिचुअल डिवाइन पाथ में, तो भाव बिना भक्ति और भक्ति बिना भगवत प्राप्ति और अंतःकरण शुद्धि ये सब इम्पॉसिबल है. हम लोग जो वीडियो का माध्यम से सब कुछ उसका रिजल्ट मतलब जानकारी ले रहे हैं, तो उनको माध्यम बनाते हुए हम 2 लाइन श्याम गीत याद आ गया है, आपका सामने में प्रकटित करना चाहते हूँ, शेयर करना चाहते हूँ. श्यामा श्यामा नाम रूप लीला गुण धामा, गौर के रूप ध्यान युक्त होया. श्यामा श्याम नाम ठीक है, मेरा पूछना है कि एक क्वेश्चन है, जब भी मैं रूप ध्यान में या मेडिटेशन में मैं राधा रानी को और इष्ट जी को और गुरु हरि को लाती हूँ, तो तभी क्या होता है, झूलन लीला हो या जब बाल गोपाल का रूप से उनको जो अभिषेक और नहाना, उसका कपड़ा पहनाना, मतलब और जसोदा मैया अपने आप बन जाती हूँ, मतलब मेरा साथ हो जाता है। तो ये सब गलत होता है कि सही होता है, और रिजल्ट मेरा साथ में सही मिलेगा या गलत मिलेगा? जैसा कि हम भगवान जी को झूलन लीला, मतलब राधा रानी को झुलाते झुलाते उनका सेवा में नियोजित करती हूँ, फिर अपने आप भगवान जी का साथ में भी मैं वो वाला भाव भी आ जाता है कि मैं अपने आप भी वहाँ समाहित हो जाते हैं। तो ये वाला सही हो रहा कि गलत हो रहा, इसका बारे में थोड़ा मेरे को क्लैरिफाई चाहिए।
गोलक जी, आप बहुत आगे के साधक हैं। ये तो छोटा मुँह बड़ी बात हो जाएगी अगर मैं आपको बात करूं, बट हमारे यहाँ काफ़ी लोग होंगे जो कि एडवांस साधक होंगे, वो आपके प्रश्न का समाधान कर सकते हैं। अगर कोई है यहाँ पे, आई एम श्योर कोई ना कोई होगा, यू कैन रेज योर हैंड। नहीं तो आपको मैं एटलीस्ट मैं 2-3 साधकों को जानता हूँ जो कि आपके प्रश्न का समाधान आपकी संतुष्टि के अनुसार कर सकते हैं। मेरी हिंदी बहुत दिनों बाद बोल रहा हूँ, तो अगर कुछ हुआ त्रुटि होगी तो माफ़ कीजिएगा। पर आपको मैं, अगर आप अटेंडेंस ट्रैकर भर देंगे तो उस पर मैं आपके मेल पे आपको किसी के साथ कनेक्ट करूँगा, उनसे आप अपने प्रश्नों का समाधान ले सकते हैं। पर आपके भाव बहुत ही उच्च कोटि के हैं और उन्हीं का हमें फल मिलता है। जहाँ तक मुझे समझ आता है, आप जो कर रहे हैं, भगवान के प्रति भाव बना रहे हैं, जो भी चीज़ होती है वो प्योर ही होती है। उसमें वैदिक भक्ति में नियम कानून लागू होते हैं, रागानुगा भक्ति में भाव ही महत्व रखता है। तो उसके अनुसार जो भी आप कर रहे हैं बहुत सही कर रहे हैं। लेकिन फिर भी मैं क्योंकि उस लेवल पे नहीं हूँ, मैं आपको कुछ बोलना नहीं चाहता, तो आपको एडवांस साधक के साथ मैं आपको कर दूंगा, उनसे आप अपने प्रश्नों का समाधान ले सकते हैं। बट लाइक आई सेड, लव इज द की थिंग इन दिस केस, and if you're doing it with utmost love, really doesn't matter. No rules, no regulations are applied. It's only your bhav, sentiment, emotion that you are carrying that you get credit for. Thank you so much. Let's quickly do that. I know it's 10:19, so hopefully we can cover in next 2 or 3 minutes, or max 5 will take maybe.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Radhe Radhe Nitin ji.
Radhe Radhe Aarti ji.
So I have put my thing in the chat box, and secondly, that ladder slide I joined late, and I'm so unfortunate from the last 1 week that I am unable to join due to some reasons. So this slide which you have presented, one ladder was there, the last one. Sir, if you can sum up in very, your time should not be
ठीक है,
much
उस पे हम ऐसा
consumed.
करेंगे, वी विल हैव अ सेपरेट डिस्कशन ऑन दैट स्लाइड। जो डिफरेंट साधन भक्ति के वो है, उस पे हम कल या बीच में हम कल के सेशन में ले सकते हैं, उनका हम थोड़ा और विस्तार पूर्वक बात करेंगे प्रत्येक भाव की। सो कल का सेशन आप कीजिए, उसमें हो जाएगा। अब हिंदी मेरे को बहुत अच्छे अच्छे शब्द आने लगे ऑल ऑफ अ सडन, पता नहीं क्या हो रहा है, बट जो भी है, तो कल के सेशन में हम करेंगे वो डिस्कस। क्योंकि आज हमने सिर्फ अनर्थ निवृत्ति को केंद्र बना के अपनी वार्तालाप किया, लेकिन कल हम बाकी भी पकड़ेंगे और उनके ऊपर बात करेंगे। जैसा लगा, I'm feeling as if I am a TV announcer. Somebody has put it in chat. So, anyways, yes, let's hear from. I think Pragya ji, she's going to answer you, okay? And अगर आप गोलक जी हैं तो आपका आंसर आने वाला है। I have a gut feeling. आपके प्रश्न का समाधान यहीं पे हो जाएगा अभी।
Seema ji, please go ahead.
Yes.
After Seema ji, then Pragya ji.
I didn't know I was unmuted. Okay. Radhe Radhe, everybody.
Radhe Radhe.
I'll elaborate some more, but I think my nivritti is that if by any chance I'm not able to do my monthly Satyanarayan Puja, and then I have made a pact with myself to do it as Manas Puja, but and somehow connect with God and not miss the bliss that I receive by doing Rupa Dhan during the Manas Puja.
Wonderful.
That's it, short and sweet.
Very nice. Yes, Manas Puja is actually the most powerful. Maharaj ji used to say that it's what happens in your mind is what you get credit for. So no matter what you do, if you are just doing Manas Seva, that is the most powerful Seva one can do, because we get credit for where our mind is. We don't get credit for what our senses or what our body is doing. So Manasi Seva is the real Seva. You can actually give $1 billion to God in Manas Seva. Okay, no, without any cost. You'll get the same benefit as you would otherwise do. So that is how powerful it is. Thank you, Seemaji, for sharing that. Wonderful. Now, Golabji, your answer is going to come. So let's have Pragya Ji talk about it. She'll give you your answer and a few more answers, okay, that you have not even asked. So get ready for it now.
Pragya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Nitin, Radhe Radhe Shyamji, and Radhe Radhe everyone, and my fellow सत्संगी sister जो अभी अपने रूप ध्यान का वर्णन कर रही थी. Thank God my camera is off because I was really getting goosebumps, and yeah, I could identify. अच्छा ठीक है, हिंदी में बोलते हैं. हम बहुत रिलेट कर पा रहे थे उससे जब आप अपने रूप ध्यान का वर्णन कर रहे थे, क्योंकि शुरू में मैं भी माँ हूँ 2 बच्चे की, तो somehow लड्डू गोपाल के बाल रूप से बहुत रूप ध्यान आसानी से सहज हो पाता था. पता नहीं कब ये ट्रांजिशन हो गया टू माधुर्य भाव, पता भी नहीं चला. सिर्फ महाराज जी का भजन सुनते सुनते कब ऐसा चेंज हो गया, आई एम जस्ट नॉट अवेयर कि कब से हुआ ये. और इतना सिमिलैरिटी कि मैं भी वो झूलन लीला ही करती हूँ, और प्रॉम्प्टेड बाय महाराज जी के लेक्चर में है. बिल्कुल डरने की बात नहीं है. हम लोग को वैसे ही इमेजिन करना है कि हम वी आर वन ऑफ द गोपीज, हम उनमें से एक गोपी हैं. और दो इट्स वेरी पर्सनल काइंड ऑफ जो रूप ध्यान आप करते हैं, स्टिल थोड़ा पेरिफेरल लेवल पे मैं ये शेयर करूंगी कि जब स्वामी जी का एक भजन है झूमत आवत श्याम, तो अनायास अपने आप एक गोपी रूप में वृंदावन के ड्रेस में वेट करते हुए कि श्री कृष्ण भगवान का सबसे पहले वो मोर पंख दिख रहा है और धूरी भरे हुए हैं, पूरा ब्लू शरीर उनका वाइट हो गया है एज पर द डिस्क्रिप्शन जिसमें जो महाराज जी गाए हैं, धूरी भरे आवत श्याम. सो मैं बस इतना कहना चाहती हूँ कि बिल्कुल भी डरने की बात नहीं है. इतना सुंदर आपका रूप ध्यान हो रहा है कि आप झूले में अपने को वहां पे इमेजिन कर रही हैं. कभी आप श्री कृष्ण को झुला रही हैं, कभी वो आपको झुला रहे हैं. यू आर जस्ट रीचिंग लाइक दैट माधुर्य भाव, एंड इट्स गॉड, भगवान है. There is no question of any extramarital, marital, anything, nothing, absolutely nothing. सब कुछ बहुत प्योर है. कैसे भी हम अपना भाव बनाते हैं, कोई भी काम रूप से भी भाव बनाते हैं, वो प्योर हो जाता है. बस मैं इतना ही कहना चाहती हूँ कि बिल्कुल भी डरने की बात नहीं है. आप बहुत अच्छे से और प्रोग्रेस करिए अपने. मैं क्या बोलूंगी प्रोग्रेस करिए, मैं तो लाइक आई एम नॉट स्वामी जी और एनीवन महाराज जी, बट यस एकदम सही जा रहे हैं आप. डरिएगा मत बस. बहुत सुंदर लगा आपका रूप ध्यान सुनकर. थैंक यू सो मच. राधे राधे.
थैंक यू सो मच प्रज्ञा जी, बहुत ही अति उत्तम वर्णन था. यस, बहुत सही कहा आपने. दैट इज सो करेक्टली सेड दैट भगवान इज द पति ऑफ आवर पति एज वेल. So in God's realm, it's a very different thing altogether, and beautiful, very nicely articulated, and I'm glad you were able to give answer to Golab Ji's question.
I do not know.
Yes, Shyamji.
Feel privileged or inspired or jealous. I am part of this group. Trust me, Radhe Radhe. I have no clue, no idea what to say, no word what to say.
So gopis used to say when Krishna would come in that roop, right? In the evening when he would come back after grazing the cows, dhusari, they say, it would look like slate gray. They would complain to Brahmaji, first of all, you have given us only 2 eyes, okay? And that too, you are forcing us to blink. So just think about their bhav. Only 2 eyes to look at Lord Krishna, and then you are making us blink. But yeah, I think we have got some wonderful sadhaks. So that is the whole idea of inspiring each other. So knowledge will go on one hand, and devotion also we need to deepen as we go along. And that is the whole idea. And we'll keep on inspiring each other with having similar discussions as we go even further deeper into bhakti. I don't know, I mean, we'll get into Madhurya Bhav and all that stuff. So I think there's going to be fascinating conversations for sure. All right, closing words, Padmaji, from your side.
Padmaji,
Yeah.
Radhe, I actually raised the word because I wasn't quite sure what Golabji was asking, but I think I understood what the question was. I think she's experiencing this divine bhavs, right? You know, she can see herself in swinging God. I think that's what I understood from that Hindi that I was trying to like strain my brain to understand. I think that's what I understood. Like she can see herself swing Lord Krishna, and then she wanted to know whether it is okay or not, right? That's what I understood from Hindi, right?
She was grasping or transcending the bhavs, so she was saying, is it okay? But then in case of God, like Pragya beautifully explained, everything is okay. Whichever
Yes.
you settle down for, because you are directing it to God, it becomes pure. So
Yeah. Oh, that's what I understood. And even that contemplation or question will go away, right? Because when you are doing the Julan Seva and then swinging God and the bliss that you experience, that is the true sense of what you're supposed to experience. Trust that instinct, trust that feeling, trust that bhav, and stick with it. And when you're really experiencing that, you become the aroma, you become that fragrance, and you become part of that essence around God. That's when you know that you're feeling right. That's how I take it. Like you know that you're feeling it right.
you took us to a vicarious trip to Golok. So thank you so much for that, Padmaji. Wonderful. Loved the conversation today. I wish we could continue, but then we don't want few people to fall asleep and then land up in some kind of a trouble for tomorrow. We'll continue our conversation tomorrow. We will get a step deeper now, a little more proximity to God by introducing the Sakha Bhav. That is what Lord Krishna is addressing Arjuna as. So tomorrow we're going to discuss that, plus maybe a little bit more about some of the bhavs, because that could be a topic in itself, but at the same time we have to make progress. So we'll try to balance it out. Look forward to another engaging conversation.
Shall we take a? I don't know. RTG.
RTG, I think she already.
RTG, maybe you can post your question in the chat or in the email. It's really, really long. We need to respect everyone's time.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. Nitinji, you can do the closing prayers.
Sure, I can do the prayers now.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening and a great rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, everyone. Nitinji, Shyamji, thank you so much. I know nobody wants the session to be ended, but we have to. So
we'll do a kirtan, okay? A full one couple of topics one of these days. We'll plan for it, okay? I know sometimes discussions they just go, but we have to put an end. All right then. Thank you, everybody. See you tomorrow.